What causes exotic magnetic effects? All right, everyone. Hello. Good to see you out there. My name is Thomas, and welcome to my channel. I do educational videos on a number of different topics, and kind of before we get into all those different topics, we're focusing in the first few months of the channel on to the Tree of Life. So we're going to learn ins and outs of the Tree of Life, because I believe the Tree of Life is a foundational tool that you can use that really helps you learn the other subjects. So it's kind of like it is a subject in and of itself, but it gives you a framework where to place all the other subjects, and so you can integrate them and prioritize them a lot more easily if you can lay down the foundation with the Tree of Life. It will last you for a lifetime. And it is not a well-known thing, and so it's something that I like to share. Most of the things that I share on this channel are definitely not well known, but they are fundamental and important, so that's why I'm doing it. Okay, now the Tree of Life is this diagram here. You may have seen it before. You may have seen it called the Hebrew Kabbalah. It goes back to at least ancient Egypt, and the ancient Hebrews got it from them or from the Canaanites, and then in modern life, it's also being used by occultists of all stripes, and some Christians and some Jews also use it. It can be spelled many different ways, Kabbalah, but Tree of Life is also, that version is used by people like Aleister Crowley, or was used by people like Aleister Crowley. That does not make the Tree of Life evil. It just is a tool. It's a tool, and it's the intention that you use it with that determines whether it's good or evil or not, just like anything else. And learning the Tree of Life actually helps you to defend yourself against such evil attacks, because you know what they're using on you. So when you can infiltrate the enemy, it helps you to be able to defend yourself from them. But more than that, it gives you just a launching point for a whole new exploration in all kinds of different spiritual teachings, mainly spiritual, but even some, scientific teachings. Okay, now you can see that the tree has 10 different circles or spheres that are numbered 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. There is an abyss right here, which is an implied circle or sphere, and then there's a 0 above the tree, for a total of 12 different categories. And these categories really represent basically our faculties of consciousness, or our abilities of consciousness. And the tree itself as a whole is more or less a map of our consciousness. So, think about it that way. The best way to learn the tree is through repetition. Okay, you have to be able to memorize the diagram and memorize just the blurb, just enough to trigger your memory about each sphere, like that. Old hat, where you can call up at least enough about each sphere, to kind of move on with your association process. So that's the key to learning it, and that's why I repeat these teachings over and over and over again. Each one is slightly different, but the basic gist of it is the same. But if you keep watching them over and over and over again, it'll sink into your consciousness, and that's the idea. So that's what I present here at the beginning of each video, is the 12 different categories of the Tree of Life, or the 12 different faculties. And then later in the video, we'll go into a slightly more advanced form, which is the 144 different minor aspects or minor faculties of the tree, which you get by basically fractalizing the tree, taking the whole tree and shrinking it down and applying it to each sphere. So you break down each sphere into into 12 parts. So you have 12 by 12 by 12 by 12 for a total of 144. That'll be at the end of the video, but in the meantime, if you'd like to get that list of all 144, you can just click the link in the description and I'll send that out to you for free. Now, let's go through all 12 of the categories. 10 is our survival or instinct. So this is our ability to keep ourselves alive. Survival of the fittest, the law of the jungle, kill or be killed, fight or flight response. And this is also our life force. And it can be inverted, and we can do damage to our life force through defilements and lusts of the body. So all those things are located in the 10th sphere. The 10th and 9th sphere is kind of where our emotional junction is as well. And the 9th sphere is really our domestic consciousness. If the 10th sphere is our wild animal, the 9th sphere is our domestic animal. So this is not only domestic animals, but what you get growing up in the first years of your life in the home. So this is what you're getting from basically your influences from your caregivers or whoever's around your home that you've become devoted to. You are soaking things up like a sponge at this point in your life because everything is relatively new and fresh, and you pay great attention to it. And you watch your caregivers or whoever's around your house, you watch what they do, and then you learn to imitate what they do. And you have to practice that imitation till you get it right. And then eventually you've got it, you know, again, old hat, and basically it'll sink down and back into the 10th sphere. So the 9th sphere is about our heightened receptivity, our imitation, repetition or practice, and then memorization. Now, the problem with the 9th sphere is that it is blind. It doesn't discern between, you know, what it's imitating. It'll imitate, you know, abuse as well as love. It'll imitate, you know, murder if it's exposed to that. So, you know, it's dangerous because it's blind. So you got to keep the influences inside the home, you know, as nurturing as possible. Okay, then we have the 8th sphere, which, you know, I say it's blind, but it's not quite blind. It's more like it's myopic. You know, it has tunnel vision. It can see like one direction, but it's more or less blind about everything else. And where the 9th sphere is our domestic sphere, what we get in the home, the 8th sphere is out in public, a public sphere. When you go to school, you know, when you're slightly older, you start to go to school, you start to go to church, you start to go to the rec center, you start to go to the mall, you start to, you know, go over to friends' houses, and you're open to other influences beside the ones that you're getting in the home. But what you're getting is really like the expert opinion. You're getting the conventional wisdom. You're getting all the institutions, you know, the school, the church, the government, the media, the law system. You're getting this is where all the resources are located. This is the establishment. These are the powers that be. And they pretty much hold all the purse strings, and you eventually you'll recognize that you have to get into this 8th sphere really in order to survive, at least above, you know, this really like life or death type of territory. So the problem is that the 8th sphere is a trickster. So it's a deceiver and a distractor. So the powers that be at the 8th sphere are manipulating us. They are not telling us the truth necessarily. Sometimes they tell us the truth when it's convenient for them, but if it's not convenient, then they'll twist it. The 8th sphere is twisted. just like an 8. And the A sphere, when inverted, looks exactly like an 8. So that's kind of how you can think about the A sphere. Now, in terms of our faculties, this is really our belief systems and our rational faculty, our ability to think logically. But again, a lot of times under pressure, we end up inverting our logical faculty using things like rationalization, circular reasoning, assumptions, and these things we use to basically fit in at the A sphere, because what they're teaching us at the A sphere a lot of times flies directly in the face of what we've already experienced in the home. And so we have to, more or less, in order to get into the A sphere, we have to reject our own experience. And a lot of times we're convinced to doing this by consensus. So this is another inversion of the A sphere, where we think that, oh, just because everybody believes it, which is what they are always saying, everybody knows that, even if that were true, even if it were true that everybody believes it, it is not true that that's the truth. You know, just because everybody believes it does not make it true. And then moreover, they're deceiving you into thinking that everybody believes it, because there are a lot of people who don't. But you just don't know about them because they're not in the A sphere. Okay, so now if we can keep our logic and reason intact, we recognize that we have to get into the A sphere to a certain degree, but the A sphere is really just the third faculty that we're opening, and we've got a bunch more of faculties that we've got to get open. So we move on. You know, we take from the A sphere what we need, we give it lip service, minimal lip service, and then we move on our way, and we end up going to the 7th sphere, where the A sphere is like the real world, the 7th sphere is like the imaginary world. So we imagine something better than the A sphere reality. And so that's a faculty of the 7th sphere, as well as inspiration, which maybe is to be able to follow somebody else who also bucked the A sphere. You know, it's like the emperor wears no clothes, where the little kid says, hey, you know, he's naive and he doesn't know that he's supposed to be, you know, stroking the king. So he says, you know, you're not wearing anything. But just the ability for that kid to say that is enough to kind of motivate or inspire other people to do the same thing. But before that, they were locked in fear, in peril, because they couldn't go up against the king and against the consensus, where they mistakenly thought that everybody else sees that the emperor is wearing beautiful clothes, so I must pretend like I'm doing that too, where in reality, actually everybody was pretending. And it was just the kind of the power of the establishment that propped up the notion that the emperor was wearing a beautiful set of clothes, and everybody just kind of fell for it. But so the person that you know, sticks their head out and really says what they believe is true can inspire a lot of other people. So that's inspiration. You also have intuition, which is basically asking yourself, going inside, what can I do to improve upon the A sphere? You know, what kind of things do I have to offer? So you use this inspiration or the intuition, going inside. You get answers from inside. Those answers may be mistranslated, so you have to verify them through your own thoughts and experiences. But they are correct answers, and they will move you forward. They also will clue you in on your higher mission, when the higher calling, when the A sphere is telling you to fit into a certain category, you know, to be a lawyer, or, you know, to be a teacher, or whatever it is. The 7th sphere is telling you to be the highest version of yourself, be your individual self. That is how you contribute to the universe in the best way. And you tune into that also through intuition. You also have a creative spark here, your ability to put things together into novel arrangements and pleasing arrangements, our pleasure principle. We take our higher mission and we can move up the tree then. First, we use all those things to combine them into creating things that will present alternatives to the A-sphere, whether those are like, songs or documentaries or inventions or some kind of intellectual property, some other kind that attempts to improve upon the A-sphere. But then you also have to develop that invention, and that is kind of where the sixth sphere moves in, or you move up to the sixth sphere. The sixth sphere is really our center here, where we're have our essence, our individual essence. If this were a map, it would say you are here, and our faculties of free will are our ability to pay attention, our ability to make decisions. Now we find that we're mainly paying attention to the 8th and 9th spheres because that's what we're comfortable with. That's what we grew up with. That's what we know. And but we have also the ability to make decisions, which allows us to begin to ignore these aspects, ignore the feedback we get from them, and turn ourselves around and focus our attention on the higher aspects of the tree. Which requires courage, because now we're staring into the unknown, which brings about fear. But if we can stare really into the 5th sphere to start with, we can find that we can really make advancements spiritually. The 5th sphere is really our sense of justice, and you could call this karma, cause and effect. Cause and effect. What comes around goes around. As you sow, so shall you reap. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. When we act, we get reaction in return from karma. Karma generally calibrates itself on violence, waste, and violation. So when we act wastefully, we get wasteful in return. When we act violently, we get violence in return. And instead of sitting here and complaining about how bad our luck is, we actually should go inside and say, hey, you know what? There's cause and effect. So I created that result for myself. And once you do that, if you're paying attention, once you do that, then you can recognize that not only is karma your teacher, but you can clean up your actions by paying attention to the reactions. So you can improve your karma by improving your actions. But you only do this if you're able to really pay attention to your relationship with karma. Now, where karma is, or sense of justice, is the enforcement of the law. Here at the 4th sphere, we've got the articulation of the law, or the principles of the law. And this has been written up in a lot of the ancient holy books from all different civilizations, all different traditions, and also theories of everything and other cosmologies that are more modern. These things are all have some truth to them. Some are better than others. Many of them are very thorough and complete. The object here, in my opinion, is to really be syncretic or synthetic, synthesize many different views, study as many as you possibly can, and then be able to kind of use your intuition again, go inside and try to figure out which ones of these, how do I fit these together or sift through these things to make the best cosmology for myself. Okay, then we move up to the abyss here. This is our psychic powers. We'll talk about this a little bit later too, at the end. And the psychic powers have to do with psychic heat and psychic receptivity. They have to do with omens, being able to recognize and act upon omens. So an omen is kind of like a magnetic charge. It gives you something. A synchronicity or uncanniness, a recurring theme or a recurring number, something that sticks out in your brain, in your mind, that this is very strange. And that is something that we should be tuning into. That's our psychic receptivity. And then it also gives us a course of action, and that's something that we should be able to act upon. And that's a psychic heat. Again, the psychic heat requires courage because it causes ourselves to put ourselves out there and face the unknown. Okay, then we have 3, 2, and 1. These are at the top of the tree. These are our divine faculties within: omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence. Omnipotence, all powerful. Really, a lot of it has to do with being able to culminate and fulfill our mission that we declared way down here, our higher calling. We use the third sphere to really tap into all these other spheres. The alphabet, the letters of the alphabet, along with rhythm, sound, synchronized sound, are used in things like chanting, but also in sacred music and shamanic drumming, in order to open up all our potential. And so that is really omnipotence, omniscience, all-knowing, or wisdom. This is our ability to solve problems, not only for ourselves, but to propose solutions to others, and even avoid our own problems. And we do this by being able to really tune in to our attention, as opposed to going hither and thither with every thought that comes. We have thoughts, but we need to put them in perspective and not chase all our thoughts, not chase all the content, but stay focused on our meditation objective. This is how we are able to kind of clear our mind. Once our mind becomes clear enough, it becomes transparent, we can see through it, and then we're able to see all the way to our deepest center. And the image of our deepest center is wisdom. This is our ability to solve problems. So we see the answers to our problems. But that is a very difficult task, to be able to meditate that deeply, and takes years of preparation. In the meantime, you use a surrogate elder or surrogate wisdom source, which is divination, whether it's tarot cards or some other kind of random chance connection that you ask and you get answers. It still can be difficult to interpret. Then we have the first sphere, omnipresence, all present, all at once, eternally. And this is our deepest center at our core. And this is the higher self. And this is the singularity. And if we're able to actually not only see the center, but to merge with our center, to actually be there, then we experience unification, because we recognize that what's at our center is the same as what's at everyone else's center. So we can really see the world anew by recognizing everything is part of us. And then the 0 above the tree has to do with mystery and nothingness. The 0 is not part of our universe, but it is part of our creator. So it's the part of the creator that we have no access to, that we're not privy to, only indirectly. And so it's a mystery. Okay, now that is the beginner's version of the 12 different faculties. Now we're going to turn to the one of the 144 different minor faculties that you get if you're going to shrink down the tree and apply it to each sphere. Use the whole tree on each sphere, so break each sphere down to 12. And the question was, what causes exotic magnetic effects? This corresponds to number 96. Number 96 is located here in the abyss. This is, our psychic powers. And this is at the top of the abyss, the zero sphere. So we have the zero sphere within the abyss, psychic powers, and then a nothingness and mystery. Okay, this is called anti-ferromagnetism. Stage number 96 is about the perfect opposition to ferromagnetism. North attracts north, and south attracts south. Charges shoot out from each end rather than looping around north to south. Ferromagnetism and anti-ferromagnetism, also known as comagnetism, are 180 degrees out of phase with each other. So anti-ferromagnetism cannot coexist with ferromagnetism. The lines of force shoot outward and outward like spokes on a bicycle wheel, rather than loop around and connect. Anti-ferromagnetism originates from charged electron neutrinos, which are mapped out as 1/2, 1/2, and then -1 in the reciprocal system notation, charged by a photon. It is the intermediate level or intermediate speed version of ferromagnetism across the speed of light boundary. Some of the exotic effects of the anti-ferromagnetic charge are inexplicable episodes of kitchenware flying, doors slamming, and ball lightning. Things usually attributable to ghosts, poltergeists, and other occult forces. Ball lightning results from superconductive current, and that superconductive pair can also take a charge, which makes a form of radiant energy. Radiant energy is two-dimensional electric motion in the region inside 1 unit of time, the space region, or which is at low inverse temperatures. As a result of Cooper pairing, where the pairing of electrons is non-local, because the connection is adjacent in time, not space. While the ferromagnetic charge corresponds to the omen, the synchronicity, an anomaly, inducing a reaction from us, the anti-ferromagnetic charge is a false omen, a paranoia, a bad omen, a honeypot trap, and a mistaken identity. In both cases, the fulfillment of our psychic powers, or psi, PSI, too, are alluring, but are ultimately a diversion. The relationship between ferromagnetism and anti-ferromagnetism is analogous to the difference between paramagnetism and diamagnetism. Both are 180 degrees out of phase and from each other, and then also 90 degrees out of phase with the pair of them. So they all kind of fit there on what's called an Argon diagram, a XY coordinates. Okay, that is the short version on number 96, the zero fractal of the abyss. And a lot of these things in the abyss are very difficult to follow. It has mostly to do with magnetism and electricity. I suspect that we'll be able to make more sense of them when we put them all together at once and kind of go over them a little bit more slowly. I'll have some videos that are dedicated directly to that. And I certainly could use some help with people who maybe are tinkerers, maybe they've messed around with free energy or things like that, to kind of flesh out some of these magnetic and electric properties that also fit into the tree of life. Okay, thank you very much for tuning in and sticking all the way to the end. You can hit the like button if you so desire, and you can share the video with others. You can subscribe to the channel. You can comment constructively on the video in the comment section. You can go to the description and click the link in order to get my free guide to the 144 fractal faculties. And you can also donate directly to me through Cash App or Venmo listed in the description. I will be coming back tomorrow with another video from the 144 fractal faculties, along with another introduction to the 12 major faculties. And stay tuned for that. Otherwise, have a great day.